The cloud just up. Yes. All right. Welcome to the January 29th AI Tinkers. It's a really simple thing that we do. Basically, every 1 or 2 months, we meet up like this, and you guys that are working with AI show us what's on your mind, what projects you've been hacking on. The idea is that it's totally open to almost any type of application with AI, but it must be a real thing. So this is not a place for like slideshows and stuff like that. We don't want like, presentation where we want to see like demos, things that halfway work. That's totally fine. Just think people exploring interesting spaces. Now, since we have an AI component that can like speak language, this is a really unusual time. So my payoff for this is just to be exposed to all your guys' cool ideas. Mike's got an announcement.
No, I need.
Tonight's sponsors are the Lighthouse, Mike and Zap. This is Zap. Yeah, thank you, Zap. Yeah. And they check that out. Really cool. And I got this picture of Akbar off of LinkedIn. His family owns Sicilian Pizza and Uzbekistan. So he's not here, unfortunately, which is a total shame. He was at the hackathon, but this yummy pizza that's his family. And a college kid that has the ability to make like pizza spontaneously appear, that's like a freaking superpower. So there's no Vandy folks here tonight. Are you Vandy, possibly? Are you? Vandy folks.
No, I'm sorry, I have some baby goats. It's like
that is
Here, no, not a baby.
Oh, okay. Oh, mute.
Yeah.
Please do take a moment to try to sign yourself in with that. The website that the creator of AI Tinkerers, who is not me, the international whatever, actually tracks all his stuff. And so I've got like a little thing that says this person ghosted you, which I think is hilarious. And I don't hold it against you too much. But yeah, please take a moment and sign in. There is a Wi-Fi. Yeah.
Yeah. It's called the Lighthouse and the password is Founders Zone. Yep.
Yeah, all lowercase, no spaces.
I think so.
Okay. It's written outside. All right, tell me when we're good to go on that. Actually, so I'll just keep blathering on for a little bit. So the format of this is pretty simple. We have 6 people demoing tonight. Presumably, if you're demoing, raise your hand. Let me know that you're here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right. Thank you. And do the math. If every demo is 30 minutes, then we're going to be here for 3 hours. So it's usually pretty fast paced. 10 minutes demo end to end, which means probably about 8 minutes of content and like a couple minutes of like you can answer a question or 2. But during the demo, the thing that we're really interested in is what's the big idea? Like what's the whole thing you put together? Probably not time for like a full code walkthrough, but what's the interesting aspects of the code, how you built the code, like vibe coded with this cool technique, or how it uses, this is my personal thing I'm really interested in, how it makes use of this new alien intelligence that we've inherited. But that's pretty much all there is to it. So without further ado, we'll get to our speakers. You guys all have hopefully received my email. And so check your emails. Not the one about the power line, which you've survived. Thank you. But there's one that has a link to this Zoom.
Oh yeah.
And so since we're in a living room, actually, the easiest way is you can definitely come up here if you'd like to, or you can hang out where you are and just unmute and just go for it. All right. So who would like to go first? You guys go ahead and sign in real quick. Yeah. Let's see. I'm gonna unshare my screen, I think. I just whoever feels like it. Okay, let's see. I'm just still sharing everything. All right. I'm gonna mute and Ryan.
Okay. All right, I'm assuming that's good. Okay, sick. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen. Oh, hold on. I can do this. Sharing is not turned on. So, all right, good. Okay. Let's do this. Then we'll do my screen desktop. Okay. And then now what we're going to do, I'm going to cast to my phone or screen mirror so you guys can see it. Hold on, guys. I gotta, maybe someone else go first. It's not letting me screen share for some reason. It's not letting me cast to my computer, which doesn't happen normally.
If anything is like
There we go. I got it. Sorry. And then let me do share. I'll do this again. Share. And then do this. Perfect. Okay. Awesome. So I made an application called Nihongo Convo, which is a Japanese speaking practice app. So I study Japanese. I've been doing it for a few years. Just love the language. I think it's super fun. I have a group of friends in Nashville that kind of we study Japanese together. And we are studying for an upcoming test called the JLPT, which is the Japanese Language Proficiency Test that we just took in December. And actually, I get the results back tonight about that. So fingers crossed. But I made this app to kind of help with that study process. And before I go into it, basically what this app is doing is it's utilizing Google for some translations and speech to text. It's utilizing OpenAI, their GPS or their 4.0 mini TTS model or yeah, text to speech model. And then, utilizing like all of OpenAI's capabilities when it comes to like generating responses. So, what you can do here, and this is just kind of the opening screen, and the whole point of this too is to be like lightweight. So it's like a lightweight speaking app. You can select a voice character. So all of these have different personalities and they sound different as well. And so that again is through that's only accomplishable because of OpenAI's they're like mini 4.0 speech to text model or text to speech model, which just came out. It's really cool. I have grammar goals here. So these are really popular like Japanese textbooks for grammar. And then say like I'm studying a specific grammar book and I want to practice a specific grammar point. I can pull this up. And so say I'm on chapter 8, and I know you guys aren't going to be able to read this, or most of you won't be able to, but that this top one says to omoimasu, and the bottom one is to itte imashita, which are two different grammar points that I'm studying and I want to practice, right? So I can hit generate here, and then I'm just going to talk into it. こんばんは。今週末は何をしたいですか? So it's like, hey, good afternoon. Like, what do you want to do this weekend? Or what are you planning on doing this weekend? Or what would you like to do this weekend? And it'll respond. うんうん。
末は映画を見たいと思います。あなたはどうですか?
So sorry if the audio is coming from my computer, but basically it responded, and then with that, it has like the response. It's all in Japanese. Let me shift it to Romaji so you guys can actually read it. So this is the response. The top one is what I said, which is konbanwa, konshimatsu wa nani o shitai desu ka? Which is, how are you doing? Or, how are you doing tonight? And what are you doing this weekend? What would you like to do this weekend? I could do a grammar check on it to actually see like, okay, perfect. I don't need to make any corrections. I can do a bubble view, so it breaks down the word into its grammatical components. So konsumatsu this weekend, konbanwa, good evening. There's still some bugs with this. Like sometimes it it thinks a noun or a verb is a noun, and it'll say like skunk or something, and it's really like suru, which is wrong. But what we also can do is you can play back your own voice and listen to it. But the thing that I really like about this, which is new, is you can go in here and say like, okay, so this guy, I'm just gonna do English so we know what he's saying. So it said, good evening, I'd like to see a movie this weekend. How about you? Right? So let's say, I want to say I want to see a horror movie, right? And say I'm a learner and I want to practice how to say that, or like I know maybe three-fourths of the sentence, but not the whole thing. I can do this, the system translates it to Japanese, and then I can click on these different parts and get like hints about what the sentence is. So say this is hora e ga, and then the verb, I gotta think about it, and I think it's mitai desu. Yeah, mitai desu. So I can get information like that, and then I can speak into it and read this. And last thing I'll show you all about this is you can actually practice building out your sentence too. So let's say, let's do hora eiga ga mitai desu, which I think this is wrong. Oh, that's correct. Cool. You can sometimes switch stuff around. If you get it wrong, it'll prompt you to like try it again, but I won't do that right now. I'll just use sentence and it goes through. Then it'll respond again.
ホラー映画が見たいと言っていましたね。私も少し怖い映画が好きです。
So something about they like something about I said I liked horror movies. Yeah, you said you wanted to see a horror movie. I like movies that are scary too. If you noticed at the top, there's a little, it kind of looks like little squiggly guys, the teimashita. So it's this part right here at the very top, teimashita. So that was one of the grammar points that I wanted the system to respond in and practice with. So it's going to be influenced by my inputs in order to respond in the different grammar goals I want to practice listening to. But yeah, so that is the overall view of that. There's also like daily challenges where you can go in, you can claim a challenge and stuff. It makes a fun sound whenever you hit claim, but I'm not gonna worry about that because I've already done mine for today. But yeah, so I guess I can go into this is my first time presenting for you guys or seeing a presentation. Do you guys want me to like go and look at the code a little bit, or like what's the vibe? What are we feeling?
It's up to the audience, but generally, like, what's the cool, like, teach us about the AI inside of it, how it's functioning, and teach us how you use AI to build on it.
Sick. Okay. Awesome. So basically, I did this via, so I'm a product manager, used to be a Java engineer. And so I vibe coded the majority of this, but like with I would say a very watchful eye. And I utilized Copilot with Claude Sonnet 4.5, which I love. And then I just recently started using Claude Code with their 4.5 Opus model, and that thing rules. It like I had like it's very expensive. I had a workflow that I was just completely like was having issues with, and it just did it. But it has like a specific mode that's called like ask user questions mode, and it's like planning mode. And man, that thing just rules. So basically, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Da, 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 da. Let's try that. There we go. Can you all see that better? Oh, thank you. There we go, as much as I can.
When you dive into grammar, you have like a grammar learning plan.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
and you
yeah.
have in the background that like context you feed in.
Yes, exactly. So hold on, it's very hard to see all this now that it's also small. Can you all see that okay? Is that all right? Yeah. So this is my, so basically this is a two-part item. So I have a Flutter front end, which is the the actual application, which is on the App Store. You can download it, blah, blah, blah. But that's where it lives. But the server, I've built a custom API for it. And then that is Fast API, Python. So basically, what I'm utilizing is I'm utilizing the front end to send all the stuff into the back end. So this is Flutter. There's just a lot of, front end stuff here I won't really dive into because this part doesn't have a lot to do with AI. But the back end specifically, let me pull this up a little bit. The back end specifically is where I'm actually, generating all the requests and everything. So if I go to prompt builder, what I'm doing here is I am asking the user a certain amount of questions at the beginning, right? So target language, originally I was going to do like English and Spanish, but I've just stuck with Japanese. This is just an old comment. Target language, proficiency level, JLPT level, which is the Japanese test I just talked about, voice character and grammar content. And so I've stored all this information in the backend, and it utilizes this, and it makes the prompt. Hold on. It makes the prompt, I believe. Text generation service. Hold on. If I can find it. I'll find it eventually. Basically, it makes it within this text generation service, and it utilizes all the different like arguments, puts it into this one big prompt and sends it off. And what I get back in response is this object here, where I just wanted to show you guys a little bit of this object here, which is from OpenAI, and where we create the message. I have my content that I've set out to it. It parses everything out. So there's a tool called Sudachi, which is really great for like Japanese analysis, like morphological assignment. Goes through that, pulls all of these sentences apart, and then I send it over into Flutter, where it breaks everything down into like the Flutter analysis and things like that. So yeah, I don't know. That's like a 5,000-foot overview. But do you guys have any other questions or curiosities about that?
Have your friends been using this?
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
like it?
Yeah, they do like it. They do like it. Yeah. Yeah. So basically, the test doesn't have any speaking components to it, but like one of the things with like language is like if you could speak it or you can like listen to it well, then it makes, answering other questions a lot easier. So it's really great for like reinforcing like vocabulary and stuff. Yeah. Yeah. It's been really cool.
Wasn't clear to me what is the lesson plan something that pre-existed? Or
So there is no lesson plan on purpose. So like, and this kind of gets away from the technical part of it, but basically like super quick summary. I wanted the app to be like lightweight conversation practice only. So it's cheap and it's just for conversation practice. People already know where they're doing their lessons. People already know where they're doing like other like vocabulary stuff. So this is speaking practice, no lessons, like no BS, pretty much.
Do you like store progress?
What'd you say?
Yeah, users, do you store like users progress?
That's the next thing I want to do. Well, the next thing I want to do is like pronunciation grading and then like pitch accent stuff. But after that, I really want to get into like tracking users' progress and being like, hey, you got this amount stuff right, or you got this amount stuff wrong, that type of stuff. That's kind of the next thing I want to do, the next real evolution, I would say, of this.
Your first language that you non-native language you tried to learn?
Yeah. Yeah. Japanese is great, super fun. It's very hard. I know a little bit of Mandarin, barely any, but yeah, Japanese is just sick. So, and we have two Japanese speakers in the room too, I think. So I'm gonna bug you guys later, get you to use it, and let me know what you think.
He probably doesn't need it.
Yeah, no, he doesn't. But I want him to like try to break it.
That's sufficiently annoying for the end of the call. That good?
It's good.
I like that. Okay, cool. So that's it's been about 10 minutes, maybe one more question, and then we'll move on to
Are you using any agent orchestration frameworks like LangChain or anything? Or are you
No.
managing it yourself?
I'm managing. So basically, how I built up the whole thing is like I have everything built out specifically in Jira through like different like tickets and stuff, and then I manage all of my like constructors and my different agents whenever it's building everything kind of manually, so I know where everything's going like piece by piece. So I don't know, did that answer your question, or did I just get that wrong?
I was meaning more like the conversation back and forth, but
Yeah.
that's also interesting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because you're talking about how you do the workflow and use AI to build the thing.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, like, are you using any framework to manage like the conversation history and
Oh, no, I mean, I'm just utilizing, so I wouldn't say a framework specifically. Like I built I guess maybe just like a REST API that I built that's just communicating with the database, and I'm storing everything and pulling things back and forth and stuff like that.
agent though specifically. How are you talking to the large language model? I mean,
Copilot, mainly Copilot specifically.
but the thing is actually making use of
Yes.
language models.
Like, are you
and,
making
generating
API calls?
Yes, I'm making API calls to it. Correct. Yeah.
So something to look at, OpenAI put out a thing a while back. There's a I think it's Priyanka.ai. It's a language learning model, totally agentic, your point about using agentic for language learning. And it's pretty cool. I'll dig it up. I'll dig it up here.
Or 8 if you want, I don't know. Uh-oh, you.
All right, folks. So, who here uses beads? Anybody tried it? Beads. Yeah, it's a kind of task tracking in Git. Tasks live in your repo. There are dependencies between the tasks. Agents can read and update them, and that's it. It's very clean primitive. It's written by Steve Yegi, or vibe coded by Steve Yegi. I think in one of his third iterations on Orchestrator. It's fantastic. After he wrote beads, he wrote something called Gastown. Let me see if I can explain it. Your beads start with a rig. Your rig has polecats. Those are your agents. The polecats do work, but they need a deacon to coordinate them. Multiple deacons report to a mayor. The mayor manages your gas. That's your context window. When you run low on gas, you need to compress it to a bead, which is like a checkpoint. So on and so forth. This is very, very clear. Very obvious how this works. This is a kind of the state-of-the-art orchestrator that a lot of people are very excited about. And I was honestly excited about it too, but it was more complicated than I wanted to be. I wanted something more simple, something that kind of works with you and lets you support your own workflows rather than what it prescribes for you. Steve knows this is opinionated. He did that on purpose, but I think people might be more excited about something that's a bit more flexible. One thing that Steve identified in his Gastown blog post is this kind of staged approach to using AIs for coding. You know, at the beginning, you kind of use a little bit of completions, and as you get to the end, you are hand managing 10 plus agents at the same time in YOLO mode. And eventually you get to the point where you have to build your own orchestrator. So that's what I did. This is kind of what it looks like when people orchestrators. And so I decided I wanted to do that too. So what is Canopy? Canopy is a way that you can get speed of thought execution using only specking. And so all you do is describe what you want using beads. And I'll show you what that looks like since I currently have a bug. This is what beads look like. You have all of your tasks are here in Git. They're stored on a work tree on a separate branch, so they don't interfere with your main. I currently have some epics that I'm not going to get into, but I also have a few tasks. And I also have a bug that I need to identify. So I'm just going to have a Claude spec it out for me. I don't really care what it does. I don't care what the code looks like. I care about nothing. All I want it to do is spec it out. Then eventually, when it finishes that, I will show you what Canopy is going to do with that. Just make sure I'm running Canopy. Just run. So the way Canopy is implemented is it has a dashboard built into it that is executed and embedded into Go. It has a daemon, and then that daemon allows you to execute tasks. So you can set a concurrency. I'm going to set a concurrency of 4 since that's kind of one that works pretty well. I have a disabled rule right now that I can enable for needs labels so it doesn't pick up any custom anything that isn't ready for work. I save that, and then I just go. And it starts running Cloud Code instances in parallel, implementing all of these tasks. It doesn't ask me anything. If it decides that it needs to ask something, the orchestrator shuts it down, marks the bead as needs investigation, and puts it back into the queue. So I have it so that it's 0 interaction. When it's executing a task, you can follow it along just like you would any other Cloud Code instance. I'm currently in the process of making it support ACP so that it could support other agent types. But right now it's Cloud Code only. It runs dangerously skip permissions because it's running sandbox, and so you can do that. The sandbox is implemented in an overlay FS on Linux and in an APFS clone on Mac OS. And so it takes a copy on write clone of whatever your Git repo currently is, makes a kind of a view of it, and keeps going. So this one failed. Let's see why. The merge failed. Okay. So the merge failed is because I currently have that bug about this bug that I was specking out over here. The bead that I needed to implement. This is actually a P0. So I'm just going to kill the current one and redo it because I wanted to pick up that P0. All right. So obviously Damon terminated unexpectedly. It's picking up new tasks. Looks like it's not picking up the P0 right now. So we'll figure that out later. In any case, what this would do is create a bunch of Git commits. And as you can see, I was running this before. It just goes cranking out commits, commit after commit. Implements everything. There's a single-threaded merge queue that automatically detects if a commit has changed any files that have been affected by other commits since that worker started. If there are any files that have been changed, it spawns a second agent that does a three-way merge resolution on all of the changes that have happened. And I found that these agents work really, really well. They're faster, so they automatically handle the three-way merge, and they they don't roll back the changes that have been done by previous agents. I had a lot of rollback issues, but those are mostly gone now. It sounds like I actually have a merge queue issue right now, so that's the P0 that I'll need to figure out. What I'll probably do is I'll have Claude Code implement that in an engineer. And then once that's fixed, I will pick it up later, pick up Canopy later. Okay. Any questions?
Maybe about 3 minutes for questions or so.
How did you start?
How did I start this?
Yeah, how did you start?
I told Claude that what I wanted to do, I had it write like a design doc, and I just kind of iterated with that. Like, no, I don't want it to do that. The core thing that I had in my mind was the patterns, like the design patterns that I wanted. And so I implemented it all basically on a reactive loop. And so every single thing that does something mutates state using only one possible path. And then everything that shows state can show state from multiple different places. And that guarantees that I don't have things stopping over other things at any given time. And so I had kind of like this idea that you could implement this pattern and use it in multiple different ways, and then you could actually build a composable system. And so all of these agents, so I have the worker agents, I have the resolver agents, I have repair agents, and I'm currently working on refactor agents and other types of agents. I'm also working on agents that can produce their own beads, that can iterate on the repo itself. All of this is pluggable into the current infrastructure. And so I wanted something that can compose and can allow people to work within their own workflows and design their own agents that work, that can be coordinated like this.
So when you start a new project and you're doing that planning, is there an integration with Collect? Does Claude create those beads for you?
Yeah, so I did build something for that. I have an init for a new project. I'm not going to show you how that works right now because I haven't tested it really at all. But it creates configs in your directory for this project. It crawls it tries to understand what you're trying to build, and then also asks you a question and answer, like how sandbox do you want this to be? Do you want this to be able to stomp over your temp directory? Do you want this able to be able to crawl over, config files inside your home directory, things like that. And then it builds a config for your current project, and then you can just like go.
And then the next question I had is like, do the tasks ever have dependencies between each other, or do they like require sequential implementation? And so then is Claude or whatever agent like aware of those, and it just knows like which task to logically take on?
Yeah. So the dependency management is all via beads.
Okay.
So beads give you a way to encode dependencies between tasks, and so you can actually do BD graph, let's say on, I don't know, this one, K4YA, and it shows you what the graph looks like for any given task.
How are you handling usage limits?
I don't care. I'm paying for the $200 max plan. I run out of my session limit almost every time. It just starts failing. And you can have it start charging you, but I have it just start failing.
And then you just give up until next month or something?
Well, then you log out of Claude and you log into your second Claude Max account.
All right.
Yeah, it's open source. It's just right here. Jzilla Canopy. It's open source. Take a look.
Cool. Thanks so much, John. All right, who's the next victim?
I'm the next victim. I think I should go for more people.
Yeah. All right. So I'm Aaron. Let me share my desktop. Allow Zoom to do the things. Um, hide the floating panel. All right. That's good enough. All right. So this is Applicraft. It's an application that I've been working on for a couple months now. Kind of like Hunter said, it feels kind of ancient in the in the environment we are in with everything evolving, almost every hour. But being unemployed for the last year, and some of you may have gone through some of the struggles of job hunting in this wild competitive job market. And so this is it's an AI powered tool to help save you time during the tediousness of the job application process while not sacrificing your authenticity. So I won't go through like an entire demo of the whole thing, but the key features are being able to capture a job posting from either a URL, directly from a URL of the job posting page, or I also have uh, browser extensions where you can do it with one click. One of the three are actually published now, but basically these all do the same thing where you say, hey, I'm interested in this job, capture the job details, and then it will save it into an application that looks like, oh, come on now. Not like that. Let me just restart this. It was working a second ago. It does, right? Yeah. I was probably just stalled out for too long.
Could be just a completely silly startup concept you could put out there. Our SaaS service appeases the demo gods, and who knows if it does anything, but you have a nice spin thing going.
Right. So anyway, it turns it into an application that looks like this. And so it captures the job description and just the other details that were pertinent from the job posting so that you can have it to access later. The part that I'm going to demo and talk about is the LLM failover like architecture, because Claude is my main AI provider for most of the operations within the application. But in order for the two situations, or the two main situations that I thought of, one is to honor the user's choice of their preferred provider. So right now, Claude and OpenAPI are the two like main API provider or AI providers that I have the ability to have a preference for in the app. Google Gemini is a close second and is also used, or a close third, I guess. It is also used for some of I would say, the cheaper operations within the app. So generating analysis, for example, because this is the light version. And then if once I introduce the comprehensive, the more detailed analysis, like that will probably use I would say Claude Sonnet, or what's the other one? Maybe one of the mid-tier OpenAIs. It just depends on how costly the operation that is happening is. So the one that is more interesting is when you go to generate materials, and I can hop over to the code real quick before I do the demo. But basically it takes into account, based on priority, like what is the user's preference for AI? And I realize this is now like really dark. But what's the user's preference? If they have their preference set to auto, like if they haven't set their preference yet, we look at the quality, not necessarily of the subscription, but like of the operation being done. So like a light analysis versus like a thorough generation of the application materials. And then the final priority being a 50/50 distribution between Claude and OpenAI for cost distribution. So that's what this code is doing. And then what happens is because I've actually had this happen where I'm in the middle of doing my thing with Claude, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, we can't do this operation right now, and so there's an outage of some sort, and so I'm like, well, how do I continue doing the thing until Claude comes back? And so that is part of the main reason that prompted this was I needed some kind of failover so that the app would continue working even if the user's preferred AI provider was not functioning at that moment in time. And so what happens is it tries 3 calls to preference AI provider preference number 1. If that fails, then it says, "Hey, we're gonna try the second choice," and then hopefully at that point it continues. If all 3 weirdly fail for whatever reason, it does log all of that and then sends a message to the user saying, no idea what happened, but none of these are working right now. Like internet's out or like Armageddon or something. Um, so and then if say so Claude is like my preferred provider. So if Claude like 4.0 Sonnet's not available for some reason, it'll fall back to 3.5, which is a wider, more stable model. So that's what this code does. And then so this is kind of just going over the provider priority. So like Claude I found has more is like more of a premium tier. Like it does higher quality in terms of like the generated materials. And then if there's like standard and light, and so the analysis, since it's only the light version and it's not as thorough as or it's not as like robust, I guess, as the comprehensive version will be. But so the default is Google Gemini, the Flash version, or the Flash model because it's very quick and it comes back very quickly. And then with the types, this is kind of just a breakdown of the pricing of the input and output per 1 million tokens, I believe. And so you can kind of see like so Sonnet is more costly than Haiku, and then like Opus, kind of like we were saying during Ryan's presentation, is the most expensive of the 3. And then these are the Claude fallbacks, the prices per ChatGPT 4 and Flash and etc. So that's kind of the related code. And then in order to generate the materials, I'll just do a quick demo. I'm gonna change this to Claude. And then I'll hit generate and then pull up the terminal so you can kind of see what's happening. Like it's gonna go by fairly quickly, but it'll show you like this last one is the important part where it says Claude streaming API call attempt 1 out of 3. If it failed, it would say attempt 2 out of 3, attempt 3 out of 3, and then if Claude was down or there was some kind of outage, it would fall back and then say, hey, let's try OpenAPI instead. I guess I could take questions while we're waiting for the generation.
What are you using to route to one model versus another? Like, how are you decide? Like, are you using LangChain or?
Oh,
are
it's
implementing each provider's APIs independently?
through API, like the tokens, like the API tokens.
How are you talking to say Claude versus OpenAI because they have different APIs, right? Are you just
Right? Yeah, no, it's a personal API token or personal access token or whatever they're called, and just have that as part of the project config. And then depending on the logic and like what action or what operation within the application is happening, it'll say, hey, like we know we're using Claude for generating the application materials because we want the highest quality. And so that it connects or it calls that Claude API in that instance. But for example, the analysis, the job fit analysis, it says, hey, we know this version, this light version is a cheap action. So we're gonna do the cost savings and go with Google Gemini Flash.
right.
Flash 2.5.
Integrating directly with Google's SDK and Claude's SDK and OpenAI's SDK in your code?
I think so.
Okay.
The code itself is manually doing the.
Oh, yeah.
accounting.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess I would say like kind of much like Hunter, like I vibe coded this, but like also like what Ryan said, like with a close eye on it, because like I have Claude code installed in the project files and kind of work with it. I've got a Jira board and everything, and just am working that way. But having been a software engineer in a previous life a few years ago, like I still know enough about what it's doing to like make small changes or like push back on some of the technical things that it, it may not get 100% right. Anyway, this right, yeah. But yeah, and so this is just an example of the material output. So this would be like the resume and then a cover letter, and it sometimes applications have questions like, hey, tell us what excites you about this position, or tell us about your experience with XYZ thing. And so this would give responses to that. And also based on a beta feedback that I got, you can like, let's just add like a test question, blah, blah, blah. You can also add to give it some guidance to say like, hey, I want to talk about this specific project in this response, or like focus on this angle, highlight these skills or whatever, and it'll use that to base its response to the question off of.
I'm sorry, you mentioned this at the beginning. Does it have access to a repository of your existing resumes and cover letters?
What does it know about?
Yes. So that is all stored under the sorry, let me move this out of the way. Under user resources in the profile. So if we go here.
So it'll know if you're at a student symposium.
Oh, right. Yeah, no, it doesn't. We don't track location data. It's just, so this is like my master resume. And then I also started a thing, or a document I called last year called the career context document, which was basically anything and everything I could think of about my different roles, like the different projects I worked on, like the goals of the project, like challenges we overcame, metrics that we measured, like basically anything and everything. And so I would tell Claude or the other AIs to like, hey, use this, and so it can compile the best information that matches the job description, like the best way possible. So that I don't manually have to do that and like try to like memorize and like remember everything. And then also, Hunter, kind of like what you just showed, I did recently implement the writing style and like voice analyzer. So like this is where I uploaded a couple of articles that I wrote like without the help of AI, so that it could try to figure out like how formal am I, like what kind of sentence structure do I use, like what kind of, how sophisticated is my vocabulary, like anyway, so like that. Because another piece of feedback that I'd gotten from one of the beta testers was, this kind of sounds like generic AI, like I want it to sound more like me. And so this was a step to improve that. Sorry, I feel like I'm out of time, but
talk about this project, that interviews you got from this project.
I've talked about it a couple of times. I didn't start working on it until in like mid-October. And so it was originally like I used an N8N workflow, and like anyway, it was completely manual. So like what you're seeing here, I only started working on like the front end and then migrated the logic over starting the second week of December. So that was kind of a slowdown for hiring. And anyway, so I didn't really have that many interviews from the time I started working hardcore focusing on this to the time or like up until now. Like I actually have a job now, not one that like I'm super excited about, but it's a job while I can continue working on this and building up like my consulting like business and stuff. So so yes and no. I think it's come up like a couple of times, but I've mostly been talking about it like at meetups and like casual conversations. I also do have a QR code if you want access to the website to sign up for an account. It is in beta testing right now, so that's the only pitch I'll do.
Did you use this to get through your job? Who's next?
No.
I'll go.
All right.
I need like a minute or two to set this up. I never done a conference with like.
I can keep talking about Applecraft. I'm happy talking about it. Yes, I'll mute.
Unmute. Okay. Start video.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. And then how do I do the
Share forever. Yeah, you're stuck sharing, he's stuck on sharing.
okay, how do I
Yeah, so
That's not it. So
Okay.
I'm kind of confused. here.
Yeah,
Escape out of that
yeah.
for sure.
yeah, right.
I guess we got it.
Oh, share, sorry. Okay, and then Okay, and then you could share from here. Okay, I
Yeah, you
get
can
it.
either share your
And
full
then
screen
okay.
or just that one thing.
Uh,
Full screen might be easier if you're switching back and forth.
yeah, if I'm switching back and forth, then just this.
Yes.
Okay. All right, then.
Now you're sharing it, you got to scoot all the junk around, like you close that up, and this, I think I would recommend smooshing it to the side too.
Okay. So it's everybody seeing what I'm seeing?
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Yep. You can shrink that too. Like
Okay.
that.
Oh, this?
Yep. It's a little bit better.
Okay. And then
Now your stuff's behind it. So you click on that, and you're good to
just
go.
click here. Okay, all right.
Yep.
Okay. Hi, my name is Satoshi. Sorry, it's like I'm just trying to get through it. I thought it was just going to be a presentation, like standing up and stuff like that. But yeah, but please bear with me. All right. So we're going to talk about retrieval augmented generation for looking at construction and contracts and use for analytics. All right. But I know you guys hate PowerPoint or presentation, but I need to go over this. So I'm just going to hit like certain points, okay, in terms of the document embedding portion of the RAG pipeline, as well as looking at just the software architecture of how it's all connected together. Okay. So we're talking about like enhancing like the optimal user output for retrieval augmented generation is through chunking or through the vector search through the retriever. All right. So for the chunking strategy, I'm using there's several of them, which is fixed. There's hierarchical, retrieval. I'm using a semantic chunk, which basically you're taking certain outputs of the word and then you're also overlapping between the chunking of the words together. So before those are tokenized, and I'm using an open AI model for the embedding service, and then using ChatGPT 4. Okay. And then next one. All right. So the retriever, I'm gonna go through the RAG orchestration. The backend's in ASP.NET, front end is in React. So but let me go through the example in the actual app and then go through the core, the code examples along with it. All right. So let's go ahead and chat. And then here's are the ingested PDF I have right in here. And you could preview if you want. And then here I have several functions for these. So giving a summary, safety, projects. So I have a PG vector database, which is using a 1536 vector embedding for it. So, and then I also have just a regular Postgres database for it. So the project and the equipment where you see earlier here, this is in just regular Postgres. And then the embeddings, all the PDF ingestion is in the PG vector database. All right, so you guys can see the code, right?
Yep.
Okay, sorry. Okay, so basically each components for these AI functions, right? I have one for like safety, I have one for projects, I have one for like writing a proposal. All right, and then this is like basically my outline for using the MVC pattern for the ingestion for writing a proposal for the upcoming project. Okay, and then here, I don't know if you can see it, but I'm using caching or fusion caching for it to cache the response output. So like one of the issues with using RAG is latency, right? Because like if your delayed outputs takes forever, right? Depending on the content of your document size, right? It just takes forever to retrieve that query, right? Based on your chunking algorithm. So I'm using caching for all the layers for the different AI agents for it. So sorry. Okay, so let me go through this. All right. Please list the obligations and contract requirements for the City of Gallatin project. Hopefully it works. Come on. Oh, it does work. Okay, so I have a Azure voice service, which is in in line with the Azure AI Foundry so it'll convert voice to text, text to voice. All right. And then you could give like, your accents, and then it's really cost effective, and it was really easy to implement into the chat interface, because a lot of the times, we're having more of a conversation as opposed to writing it down. So I have that feature here. So give it this. Okay, here. So that's some of the reasons I'm like trying to work around it, how to reduce that latency, reading research papers, reading books, like, or like, because like you're literally fighting. It's an economic battle between like how much, what can I do to like improve the performance of this app without like, jeopardizing my wallet, right? Because like, incurring to the limitation of the context window, right? The more you add into the context window, the more cost, because that translates to added token, right? And usage, right? And depending on the model that you're using. So what, is very interesting with RAG is that it solves that solution for domain specific knowledge, right? There's like proprietary data where you can, you don't want the other users to know your data information, right? And then also, you're always limited by the context window as well. I mean, there's different arguments and there's different debates on whether to use RAG or whether to use the context window and, with prompt engineering. But here, I don't know if you can see this, but here, this is the ingested pages from where the PDF came from the contract, and then this, hopefully the voice, come on.
Contract requirements for the city of
obligations
Gallatin
and
project contract with the
All right,
following.
press it
1.
twice.
Work performance and
All right.
specifications. The contractor must perform all.
So here is where you have to, so it's only allowing just a PDF right now. But I'm working towards adding Excel files into it. So, if you have a contract where it's all in Excel, right? And then you want to have a knowledge base based on that. It's fairly complex. So right now it's a PDF, and there's ways of better improvements along the line of just trying to get it, because there's still a little bit of hallucination based on what your prompting is going to be, right? So you're still battling over that, but you want to, like the goal is to not like retrieve unrelevant information that could, jeopardize, your contract or your project or your clients, because a lot of like the engineering terms, like especially in civil engineering, it's, they're very similar, but it could go the wrong way, right? Let's say like you have for safety for like sorry, just one more minute and I'll be done. All right. And so say, like I have like the OSHA safety like handbook like embedded in here, but like think about ladder safety, excavation, shoring, I mean, like fall protection. I mean, these things could be life and death situation, right? And you don't want the whatever model that you're using to give an ambiguous answer where, it could really be like, you got to really assess like where that risk tolerance is, and like how do you want to like, because the issues I had was like, oh well, an AI that could summarize everything, but to what context, at what length, right? Especially if you're dealing with like really technical, like structural information and beams or piles or lagging walls, like it's you don't want it to go the wrong direction, okay, or give the wrong advice. So I guess that's the hardest part. And then, yeah, just, keep on improving and working on it. So thank you, if you guys have any questions.
Mr. Bates, so sorry, go ahead. Any questions? I'm still a little bit unclear about the use case for this. Can you say more about?
The use cases for general contractors, medium to large, heavy construction. So it could be geotechnical, it could be environmental.
But what got you into the use case?
Because the use case for me is it's very difficult to read technical documents. Like some of the Army Corps of Engineers, I worked on two of the most critical levees in the United States, and technical documents could be 1,000 pages, right? And your project manager is like, oh, go read this, go review this, or you're gonna be on the job site next week. Like, what am I supposed? Where do I start? Like, there's so much nuance between the differentiation between the responsibility of the general contractor, responsibility of the subcontractor, right? And then what line of work that your company is involved with, right? And also there's a lot of payment, bond issues, delays, like notification for the RFI, like unless you like dive deep in the contract, and then but it takes such a long time, right? And you want to reduce that time as much as possible and be able to be very fluent once you're on the job site. So I think that's like the root cause of why, I started like trying to build this, So
I was just for this use case in particular, I would think maybe there are some cases where you could have a really important technical detail that's stored in a chunk in your vector database that has a bunch of kind of unrelated information, and then so maybe you have the resulting vector encoding that kind of not really like when the model goes and searches the database, it might skip over that chunk because maybe it talks about a different topic for 90% of it, and then there's a really important technical detail.
Yes, so it's like, so you're constantly battling over between your chunking strategy, the quality and the length of the documentation, and also how you're doing a retrieval based on cosine similarity, based on re-ranking, based on like, let's say like who has the highest confidence score, right? But just because you have the highest confidence score based on doesn't guarantee that that information is accurate. I mean, so
Related to that, why did you pick semantic
the relation okay, one of the reasons is because the overlap in between the chunking and also like taking chunking in, because usually it takes around 350 to like 500 tokens per chunk, and then that's why like you set your parameters like 300 to 400 words per chunking, and then from there, whatever you don't want your max results to be like over the moon, right? You want it, so I set it up to like 12 to 15 to get the 12 to 15 of the most relevant sources of the query. So like, like looking at like different chunking strategies, I haven't really applied all of them for the best use case. And it really, again, depending on like how extensive your documentation is.
How are you?
Probably gotta make this the last question.
Yeah.
Well, so I was gonna ask about like, how are you processing the documents? What are you processing the text or
Text?
And are you able to handle graphics or?
No. This is only a single model. It's not a multi-model. So that's where I don't understand the architecture for designing that API for the multi-model yet, to where I'm confident to say that, that tabular data or that image is within that same like entity or the same table.
There's a really interesting, very small model called Modern Beavers. I was just reading about it literally last week.
And there are external tools that'll do the chunking for you.
No, I'm writing it. Yeah, I'm like still exploring some of these tools that are available. I know there's a lot of like RAG, orchestration pipeline APIs available, for sale, but in order
open source tools that'll pre-chunk everything according to a bunch of different strategies, and then you can start feeding. But
but I wanted to like get like the foundation level first of how to build it first before, I'm confident to say that this, provider gives the best output. So.
Cool. Thank you very much. And let's we have one left, right?
I am unmuted. Let's see if I can share here. All right. Well, my name is Drew. I have been in the Nashville area for quite a while, and mostly as a founder of a company. I started about in 2009 in the Nashville area, and and have mostly spent my work in the product world. But today we're going to do, lots of useful things presented. This one is more of a fun thing that was done pretty quickly out of a conversation that I had with my niece over Christmas after we played a game called Imposter, which I don't know if anybody's ever played that, but it's like an in-person game. You all sit in a circle. The imposters, making sure I get this right. Yeah, the imposters are not given the clues, and you, as the players, are given the clues, and your job as a player is to kind of pretty much create like a large inside joke, essentially say things that are related to the category and the topic. So, but the first thing that started was that I saw her writing on a piece of paper. We had her aunt got selected as an imposter twice across 3 games, and she's 14. She's in statistics, and so she's trying to figure out, okay, what's the likelihood of her getting selected twice across that? And so I let her finish her handwritten math, not to poison her with AI yet, but we and I let her finish it. We got to the outcome, and then I said, hey, like, well, okay, you were able to figure out the result, which ultimately is it's like 1.62% is the likelihood of a person getting selected twice across 3 games or something like that. But she got selected twice, it was much higher. So so we built out a Monte Carlo simulator. So if I put in 3 games here, run the experiments. Oh, cool. That's fun. Oh, there you go. Yeah. So, and sorry, I've got this like Zoom stuff blocking me. So you can see an experiment too. It ran 3 games with 17 players and 3 imposters. And Jen, her aunt, got selected 1 time, which is a 33% likelihood, right? And so you can run this over and over across these scenarios there. She got selected twice. And, and the theoretical possibilities about, it's 1 in 62 essentially is the statistic. So we built out a handful of screens after that, and then we got into, okay, well, what does it look like if you simulate 10,000 games? And so pretty much what you see is that your theoretical probability and your actual are going to stay very close to each other, which is pretty fun. So that was fun. And then, of course, like, I don't have 2 subscriptions to Claude Code, but I do have 1. And so it's like, well, okay, well, we have some pretty interesting characters in our family. So it's like, okay, what if we actually had AI play the games, or play the game together, right? So let's simulate. How can we simulate the game? So built that out. And so it will get bigger in a second, but imposters know the category. Players know the category and the secret word. We have 10 players. There's going to be 2 imposters assigned. It's going to go across 2 rounds, and then they're going to vote at the end and vote people off the island here. So, but before we get started, I'll show you. So this is 15 models across, or no, 14 models across 4 providers, I think, using the Open Router SDK, which is kind of an easy way to get access to all the models all at the same time. And then we did some kind of performance tests on response time and, how quickly and whether or not they can take like a structured response, because these things I need them to spit JSON back out, and some of them just don't like doing that at all. So we will start the game here. And so what we're going to see is an inner monologue happen from each player. And so remember, the word is beach. This is a player. They know the word. And so they chose to say parking. And so you kind of see this inner monologue of, Can't actually zoom in here, yeah, of what they're thinking.
Goals to be kind of subtle, like you say beach ball, then you're an idiot, right?
Yeah. So I can pause it for a second. So it's like, yeah. So there's a series of prompts that are kind of layered in to kind of teach the AI or give them the context of the game mechanics, and yeah, it's like this one's like throwing some shade. It's like the people who have given out clues so far are pretty much telling the imposters that the word is beach. Um, and so you have 85% confidence here from this imposter that the word is beach. And so they guessed waves. And their goal is to blend in and like not because they don't know the word. Always hard when the imposter has to go first. It's always funny to watch that because that's how the game happens. But this will advance. I'll speed it up a little bit. But it's essentially evaluating everybody's response prior to them each time they're going, and then trying to break patterns. So if like two players like said something that was consistent, that might give the imposter a leg up, they're going to try to break a pattern based on the prompts that are given or the context that's been given. So it is so the game is really interesting. It's kind of like your goal is to say something that is associated with the word, but also associated with other things too. So not to tip off the imposter. Yeah. It actually has a bunch of different names, the game does, but so they're voting right now. So let's see. I don't even remember who the imposters were. It's player 5 and 6. Sorry, I'll speed it up here. So they're voting each other off, and then essentially they got one of them right, and so only one imposter remains.
All of these players are referencing different models.
Yeah, so up at the top left, this one's Gemini 3. Actually, I don't know if that one is changing. They get randomly assigned, essentially from the bank of 14 models.
I'm curious how you're speeding it up. Is it like, has it already happened and you're just revealing it faster, or it's actually happening faster when you speed it up?
Yes, I mean, in terms of the architecture, it does have a real-time mode, but essentially when you start the game, it pre-computes everything, and it'll essentially start to play the game, and it can do it much faster than what we would watch it at. And then it essentially it starts the game the minute it has a few responses ahead of time, so it's kind of progressing up there. But I'll give one quick, there's like one of the main custom spots here is like a state machine that we kind of had to build, like a custom state machine with the game mechanics. So the clue round, I'm going to add in like a discussion thing where they actually openly like talk shit at each other pretty much during the game. And which can affect, we can have it emotionally affect them essentially. And then so it kind of has to follow the game mechanics here. But
Did you use any sort of framework for this, or just kind of a your own state machine thing?
yeah, I mean, because the game is like has so many nuances to it, and it is and mostly because I had to layer it as I went, because I got it wrong a few times, because the game actually doesn't have well documented instructions online. Like putting it in an existing framework would have been a little bit more rigid, essentially. But
Bias over frameworks.
I think that's this is one of my big questions when I started consulting, because I did at GitHub and we built everything we needed because nothing existed at the time. And then when I left, like the world was like this proliferation of all sorts of other ideas that size, like what that's kind of what we had earlier. It's like, yeah, it's an HTTP request, text in, do what you want.
yeah, I mean
the biggest challenge is like sanitizing the responses, making sure that you're getting like ones that aren't too long or aren't too short, and that essentially the models are behaving like to the prompts, and then giving, structured JSON back. And then yeah, and just making sure they follow there's a lot of adherence kind of work that you have to make sure they follow the rules of the game. But most 50 to 60% of it is done with prompts, just teaching them how the game works. So
Any couple of questions before we wrap up tonight? I want to know who's the more conniving large language model. Who's going to manipulate me in the future?
yeah, I mean, like Gemini is like the one that like is like building out, like if you expand the thinking and like the inner monologue to a lot of characters, it starts to like run statistical kind of things against like the likelihood of like the version that I built recently has it's a little more human. A previous version, it's very much intellectual, and you've got Claude is probably the most conniving, and then like or the most verbally conniving, I guess, and then Gemini is a little bit more statistical. It is very interesting because in my day-to-day with coding stuff, they behave a lot differently than they do with this stuff, and it's fun to. Yeah, my only takeaway is I did try to introduce like one of the llama models in here, and it totally could not handle any of this. So that's pretty fun.
Do you have any model that flip? Do you have any models that like just flip the table, the hallucinations would mess with the other models?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of them were like a lot of them like they would get so much in their head that they would say something really obvious. Like it was you look at this like huge long justification. It's like, and for beach they'd be like sandcastles, and it's like this massive prose on like this is the right word to say, and you're like, you're an idiot. Like this is like you don't, and the prompts are correct. The game how I ended up fixing that was just like saying like very, very simple human rules, like how you would speak it out loud, and then all of a sudden it can play the game much better and doesn't. I was trying to get it to be a little bit more aggressive in how it was thinking, and that did not help. I played around with that a lot because when I didn't, it was essentially like it was just talking to itself constantly. And I think I capped it at like 400 characters maybe, or something, 400 words maybe total. That was pretty. I need to look back at exactly what I did. That was fun looking at some of those responses.
If both you guys talks like had a baby, I would be very interested in like fine-tuning reinforcement learning, because this has like a very well-defined reward function. You say how often are you actually winning this thing? Be interesting to see how good they get.
Oh yeah.
Doing exactly this.
Yeah, I mean, I think each game costs like half a cent, something like that, in terms of like the costs on just across all the different models. So
Were you able to see a spread across each of them, where there was a difference in cost between each model, or was it pretty equal?
I mean, a lot of it's just a factor of how much you let it like think and like kind of build out the inner monologue or
But all
whatever.
things being equal, were they about the same? Like if they all had the same type of context window?
Yeah, I mean, at the token levels that we are here, it's the cost is insequential for the ones like for the ones I'm using. But if you played like 10,000 games, then Anthropic would bankrupt me. But
All right, I'm gonna take this moment to wrap us up. Okay, so who's a first timer here? Cool. How'd you like it? Kind of cool, right? There's a lot of how many different things do we see tonight? And it's become easier and easier to just pick cool things. Like, I gotta, pick who's presenting, and everyone is pulling so much interesting stuff right now. So out of curiosity, just get to know each other better. Probably I should have done this for the opening, but we've heard a lot of different types of voices in here. I want to figure out how many of you guys are like developers, like very technical. So like half. Interesting. Which means the rest, we have product people. Yeah, I was hearing a lot of that. And just like general business or like anything else.
DevOps.
DevOps. Okay. What you got?
That, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And
Director, something, yeah.
yep. Well, okay. I'm not technically.
I don't much cutting down during normal business hours.
Yeah, okay.
Normal business.
Yeah.
And you are one of the different.
Just offers web development program, so
Oh.
trying to get better at
So-
engineering, but I have a product business development background with real estate, healthcare.
It's a really interesting time, right? Because like for a tech savvy product person, like you can just jump into it and know how things work. For a technical person that can still read the code and figure out how to like guide these things, it's like startups at this point are just like, I feel like creating something myself, and it would have been like a complete startup in the past.
I work for a tiny company, we're under 50,000 of us, and we're actually, for our executive teams, they're learning to code with AI. And so getting them on a daily basis, beginning to figure out how agentic AI works so that they can be better embedded to drive work with our client base. I mean, so I think we're gonna see much, much more. So come on, get the fingers.
Well, you don't have
Get
to
back on the keyboards a bit, because you know it's coming.
Yeah, we probably should have just like one of these meetings one night where it's just like open floor, let's figure out what the crap's happening, because it's whatever's happening right now is pretty amazing. All right. All right, so there's gonna be more of these coming. Like my current pace is like once every couple of months, but you can expect some more. So be working on stuff, figure something that's neat, your own niche, some way of exercising this crazy technology in a different way. And just one thing I wanted to get a feel of this crowd as my sample. I'm seeing a lot of different people that there is no convergence yet on how software is built in this new world. Like there's the programming languages, we know how that works, but like, do you just straight up like vibe code, like just shout at the machine? I actually have like audio. I literally shout at my machine at this point. Do you write a product spec and start from that? Do you like just Claude code and like let it go its own? Do you manage like a small army of of minions? Would you guys be interested in having like a full time of this, but specifically, how do you develop code? Yeah, that would, I feel like I want that one really bad. Okay, make sure give me feedback, give me ideas that might be fun, things that we could do later. Every once in a while, we could have a theme night like that. But in general, it's just, I think it's pretty fun. So thanks a lot for coming. We have got to get out of here by 8, or Zap gets really angry, just really. She probably didn't care, but I want to go home. Yeah. What are you doing, John? Yeah, so thanks, and I will. Oh, that's great. Is what?
We have an hour where.
Yeah, please chat. 8's probably a good line. Yeah. Yep. All right. Thanks, guys.